Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cosmic Crusade podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and I am very excited to be diving in to the third episode with you all. Hello. I can't wait. And to keep up with the threes, I'm going to hit you with a little alliteration because today we're going to be talking about coffee, cannabis, and cults. Oh my. I am very excited. But first, let me hit you up with a little recap, a little update on life. We just had our birthday celebration. Hello! I had a absolutely wonderful day. It was my 24th birthday, and I have never been to a casino before, and I put that on my New Year's resolution, like my goals throughout the year of things that I wanted to do. One of them was hit up a casino, so we did that. I'll take you through the whole day. So we went to a float tank, which is kind of like the spa day moment. Okay, we'll insert a clip here. But doesn't that look amazing? Like, literally, it was a wonderful time. It's one of those experiences that, like, after you come out of it, you feel so alive, revitalized, young again. You know, it's like you are having a wonderful time and you are relaxing somewhere deep within your mind, body, and soul. Like, I came out of that and I felt like I had sleep like I had not had slept in a long time. It was wonderful. So definitely 10 out of 10 would recommend, would do again. I love doing like those wellness types of things, you know, like I love finding different forms of like wellness and keeping up with the body, and I love finding just different ways to experience self-care. I love experiencing so many different and unique types of ways in which we can take care of ourselves, because there are so many out there and I just kind of want to try them all, you know? I want to know everything and like how we can take care of ourselves. But so that aside, after that we went to Aladdin's and we had a nice little snack because like I was just going for a lunch moment, a lunch vibe, because I wanted to eat something and I definitely wanted to have Aladdin's on my birthday, but I didn't want to go crazy with it, you know, and that is a very safe choice for me. Like, that's a very safe place to eat where I will not go crazy. So, this is what we had. We had a little chicken curry rolled. That was absolutely divine. It was amazing, and it came with this lovely sauce. This is a job for Editor Jay to get up in here and let us know what that sauce actually was. But it was divine. It was yummy. And so after we hit up Aladdin's, we went to the casino. The casino! And I'm not rich. Awkward. I, in fact, did not win very big. I did not win very much. But I had lots of fun. And that's what matters. I went in with like $200. I come out with like $100. I say, okay, you know what? Good day. That's enough. I tried it and I just don't think personally for me that gambling is like a vice that I could be addicted to, I could get into. I mean, obviously we love our addictions, but gambling is not one of them. I fear I'm too frugal of a person to be the type of person who's gonna get into that cycle of like throwing away my money. And also I just did slots. You know, that's all I wanted out of the experience was to go and experience the slot machines. And also I don't really know poker like that, like to the extent of, okay, I am sitting here and I am playing a game where I'm gambling away like hundreds of dollars. I don't know poker like that. I don't know games like that. It's like every time I'm sitting down at the table and we're playing a card game at like a party or whatever, it's like, okay, how do we play this again? I'm gonna watch around and then let me hop in. Like, I'm gonna see what everybody else does first, and I'm gonna see how this is like played out, but then I can hop in. Like, after the observation round, I'm good. And obviously, you know, when you're in a casino type beat, that's not really the situation. Um, so we stuck to slot machines, something very easy, very simple, and you know, we still had fun with it. It was a good time, and that's just definitely one of the bucket list experiences for my life. So glad we got to experience that. And then afterwards, when we finished up at the casino, we went to Barnes& and Noble a little bit, just did a little bit of shopping around, you know. I was trying to find some more books in my series so I could continue my reading goals for the year. But after we went to Barnes& and Noble, we hit up the Cheesecake Factory. I mean, come on. Come on, it's a birthday dinner. What else could you possibly want? Some cheesecake? Yes, you do. Hello. Divine. I had this very delicious drink. Okay, we're gonna pop her in. We're gonna insert loved, 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 loved. Now you give me a coconut mojito. That I love. I feel like I'm on a little tropical vacation, okay? I feel like I'm somewhere where it's very nice and very warm and not the middle of the dead of winter and disgusting outside. You know, okay? I'm having a little sip of something fun. In addition to that, we did have a little appetizer moment. We had some crab wontons. They were really good. They hit. And that's the very interesting thing to me with Cheesecake Factory is like, you have so many options. You have endless amounts of options with the Cheesecake Factory because that menu, you're flipping through it, honey. It's a book, okay? Talking about my reading goals, hello, the Cheesecake Factory menu. That was my favorite book of the year. Let me tell you, that was a hit. So that was a really good time. I got the Smokehouse barbecue burger and I had some sweet potato fries because, listen, I feel like it's an unpopular opinion, but sweet potato fries, they kind of hit. They kind of hit. I fuck with some sweet potato fries, okay? And especially if you get like, I think there's like brown sugar cinnamon sauce or like dip or something to that nature. Oh! Now talk about divinity, okay? That is the shit, let me tell ya. That is so good. So we ate that up, and then the cheesecake was the triple berry bliss. It was so good. So good. Literally, I didn't have the stomach space to eat it right then and there, but we took it home, and I mean, look at her. Scrumdiddlyicious, hello. Ate her up, and it was, I mean, of course it's divine. It's cheesecake. I feel like cheesecake is one of the very few things in life where, like, you're not going wrong with it, okay? It's just too good. So that was like how I spent my birthday. I also uploaded the previous episode of this podcast on that day. I was having a little bit of trouble with it, so it took me a while, but by the end of the night, it was up and running, so that's a blessing. Okay, so now we gotta do our little catch-up. We gotta do our little high-low water buffalo. Obviously, the high being that it was my birthday, and I did, in fact, check off 2 things on my 2025 bucket list, being the casino and some sort of like meditative experience, something that was like self-care experience. And so it was really a wonderful day. I enjoyed it, 10 out of 10. I would relive the day again. It was beautiful. I would say that my low, what do we got for a low this week? Oh, my gypsy, my dog, my poor baby, she was sick. She was throwing up the other night in the middle of the night and it woke me up, and that's just, you know, if you're a dog parent, that's just not something that you want to wake up to, is the sound of your kid just hacking up something in the middle of the night, and then you're like, oh shit, okay, I am like waking up right now, I feel like I'm in a daze, you're throwing up all over my carpet, so we gotta make something happen quick, okay, like something, we gotta get on it, because this is, something's happening, and I don't like it. So, she's good, she's fine. I think she got a new treat, she got a bone, and she was digging into it, okay? She ate. No crumbs left. She was being a vicious beast that she is. My sweet baby. But I think she was going into it too fast for her own good, and she was hacking up some bone. So, that was awkward, but all's well now. It's all cleaned up and she's not feeling ill and she's not thrown up since. So at least it's a one and done situation and in the past. For water buffalo, I don't know. I don't know what random event has happened to me recently. My boyfriend's family came over for a little party situation. That was really cool. I mean, listen, any excuse for me to be able to just not cook, any excuse for me to be able to just like have pizza delivered to the house and not have to worry about dinner. Oh, I'm in. I'm in. Consider me sold because I love it. I love it. And especially when it's like a group of people like that because I'm like, okay, I don't want to be making the feast right now. I don't want to be slaving over the stove for the feast right now, you know? I mean, it's just so simple, so easy. Let me beep, bop, boop, bop. Okay, hey, pizza, come through. So yeah, that was a wonderful time. And I mean, it's always great to see his family and like hang out. And yeah, it was just a pretty chill night. So yeah, that's my little high-low water buffalo check-in moment. Feel free to comment down below, give me your life updates, tell me how your life is going. But other than that, let's go ahead and dive into our podcast. Okay, so you know it, you love it, and for many of us, we probably consume it daily. We're talking about coffee. If you did not know, coffee actually started its origin story in like the 9th century. There was a goat that was found eating berries from a particular tree, and the herder of the goat was like, hey, wow, my goat is like eating these cherries and then just staying up all night, you know, being very energized and very stimulated. Let's try it out. You know, let's see what happens when I do it. So after eating the cherry and obviously feeling the energizing effect, he was shocked, he was amazed, and felt that he had to share it with the world. So he went back to the monastery. They were staying up all night and doing prayers all throughout the night. And so he shared it with them where they took the coffee cherry and made it into a drink. And that's kind of how coffee got started out. Once we got to like the 15th century, that is when we're looking to see that the coffee is being first traded. It was shipped across the Red Sea and found itself in Yemen. And funny enough, in the 15th century, that is also when we see the first type of coffee house come about. Now this was more so a place for men to enjoy coffee, yes, enjoy the beverage, but they were gathering and they were having conversation, and they were playing chess and games of the sorts and dancing, listening to music and talking politics and things of that nature. And ever since then, it's just continued to grow and expand and be traded all across the world to where we are now, where every single day, like over 2 billion, yes, 2 billion cups of coffee are consumed on a daily basis worldwide. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? 2 billion cups of coffee around the world daily. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my coffee. Coffee, coffee, coffee. Morning, noon, and night. I'm in it to win it, okay? I love. But that's crazy to think about. 2 billion. That's insane. But I love coffee, and there are so many different methods to brewing coffee, which we'll get into. But first I want to take you through the sort of how we're getting from the plant and taking that and cultivating it to the cup. So once you have your coffee cherry, there are a multitude of different ways that, you know, farmers will use to extract the bean itself from the cherry. But however they choose to process it, once that bean is pulled from the cherry, it is a green bean. It starts off as a green bean. And again, just with like the processing to have the bean itself extracted, there are a multitude of different ways that you can go about having the bean roasted itself. But regardless, we're starting off with light to dark roast. And what we're noticing within that is as you're roasting the bean and as it's going through the process of being roasted, you're roasting out the caffeine, but at the same time, you're infusing it with more of that bold coffee flavor that we're all familiar with, yes? So the lighter the roast, it's going to have the most amount of caffeine because it hasn't been roasted out yet. Now, if you're looking at like a decaf bean and comparing it to a light roast bean, I mean, visually, you would be able to tell that, okay, this one has been roasted a lot longer on the decaf side of things. And along with that, you will notice too that on the lighter side of the spectrum, that type of coffee is typically more acidic. Typically, the darker that you go, you'll have more of those bold, full body types of flavors. So when we're looking at like a typical cup of coffee, what you'll be able to notice is that you're looking at a caffeine content of anywhere from 1 to 500 milligrams of caffeine. And that is all very dependent, of course, on the type of roast, the type of brewing method, and how much of that coffee you are consuming. So say, for example, if you have like a black cup of 12 ounces that's just a blonde roast that is brewed, drip brew, and you don't have anything in it, that's going to get you a lot of caffeine. Whereas if you're doing like the same 12 ounces in like a latte, you're not going to have very much caffeine. Now, comparatively, when we're looking at like a can of Monster Energy, that is going to have around 160 milligrams of caffeine. And then if you're looking to like one shot of regular espresso, that's about 75 milligrams of caffeine. So there's just some like comparative numbers there for you. Caffeine is obviously like one of the most widely consumed addictions in the world. And you can see that within like the physical symptoms. If you're a coffee drinker, you know that you're gonna have that headache, that you're gonna feel kind of groggy, kind of sluggish. Like you can definitely tell that something is missing and something is wrong. Like half the time I'm sitting there through the day thinking that I didn't drink enough water because I'm having these headaches, but it's just the caffeine deficiency. Babes, that's just on the caffeine that you're missing. Your body is like going through the withdrawals of like, okay, where is it? Where is that caffeine? I need like my morning pick me up. It's crazy. It's like the second most traded commodity, like globally, is coffee, only second to oil, like crude oil, which isn't that crazy. Like coffee has definitely made a major impact in our lives, and honestly, for me, I think in the most wonderful of ways. Another thing that I love about coffee is that there are just so many different ways that you can choose to consume and enjoy it. You have your simplistic black cup of coffee, you have lattes, you have cappuccinos, you have flat whites, you have cortados, there are so many endlessly, frappuccinos, iced coffees, cold brews. Like you can do just about anything and make so many wide varieties of drinks from these little beans, it's crazy. So I think when we're looking at the brewing methods, I'm gonna do a little tier list action, okay? So starting at the top, when we're talking about the brewing methods, my favorite's cold brew. I love to do a cold brew. Now, when we're doing a cold brew, what's happening is that you're taking the coffee bean and you're giving it more of a coarse grind. You don't want it to be too fine, and we're submerging it in water and letting it sit, right? And you're just letting it soak for, what Starbucks does is 20 hours. You could do it a little bit less, you could do it a little bit longer, that's just gonna affect the flavors of it. So it's really dependent on how much you're wanting to extract the flavor. It's really just sort of dependent on how boldly you're wanting those flavors to come through and how deeply you're wanting them to be extracted. One of the fun things that I enjoy with coffee is definitely experimenting and, trying different things. One of my favorite types of cold brews that I have ever made, I made myself. I did a light roast that I marinated for like I think it was 22 hours, and I had some literal vanilla beans that I was soaking in there with the coffee beans just to give it like that little hint of sweetness. Oh my God. Something so simple like that. Like you could do the same idea with like a cinnamon stick, you know, just take that and let that marinate with the beans overnight or whatever, and you're gonna have such a unique profile. And it's amazing how much these subtle flavors can come through, and like when you're pairing them with the different types of coffees, what they can really achieve. So that's what I love about cold brew, is like the different levels of experimentation that you can do with it. And so that is where we're existing on the top of the list. Now, after cold brews, we gotta say espressos. I love, love, love espresso. And what you're doing with espresso, usually, I mean, you're gonna have an espresso machine do most of the work for you, but with that, you're taking the bean and you're giving it a much finer type of grind, and you're putting it through a lot of water very quickly under pressure to give you those shots, right? And my thing is, I love that it delivers such bold, beautiful coffee in such a little amount. Like, I feel so dainty sipping a little espressos, you know? But of course, you can't have espresso without thinking of like a latte or things of that nature, you know? So I love espresso for that aspect of it as well, because it does just cultivate the level of drinks that you can have with it. It's like without espresso, we wouldn't have as many different types of coffee drinks as we do now. So we're giving her flowers. We love espresso. I would say after espresso, probably looking into like a drip brew, you know, just a regular Mr. Coffee bun. And with those types of brew methods, you're kind of meeting in the middle of like having the fine grind and the coarse grind. And you usually have like a type of filter to hold the coffee itself. And then obviously you just pour the water and it drips on through. And that's how we got the name of Drip Brew. It's a classic, you know. I think that's a staple in nearly every household across America. Like, we're all drinking coffee and we love to have the ease of access. So we have our little coffee brewers at home. And I think that's, I personally, my first experience with coffee, I think it was from a drip brew. I think it was just, you know, mom's coffee pot at home, babe. You just take you little sip and you gonna be okay. But after the drip brew, I think iced coffee. Don't get me wrong, I love an iced coffee, but I don't know. Cold brew is just superior in my brain. Like, when we're doing an iced coffee, you're going to like double the strength. You're gonna double the amount of coffee, like the actual grounds that you're using to brew, and then you would brew just like the normal amount and then put that over ice. But since it's like double strength, it's not gonna get like watered down tasting. It just feels like we're speed running cold brew. We're speed running cold brew, and I don't know. I don't ever really personally take time of my day to brew it in that method, in that way. When we're looking at coffees, if I'm using the drip brew, I'm just gonna have a hot coffee. Like, I'm good. So after iced coffee, I would say probably French press. With French press, what we're looking at is, again, similar to cold brew. You're using that same level of like, we want the coarse and the grind of these beans. And then you're steeping it for like 5 minutes, kind of like a tea situation. And then the metal filter will press all of the grounds down into the base of the unit, and then you're left with honestly, a lovely cup of coffee. Just for me, it ranks lower in this tier list situation because I don't ever want to do a French press. I don't want to do a French press. I don't prefer to brew it that way. That's not how I would like to have my coffee. I'll give her flowers in the sense of there are many unique flavors that you can extract through this process of doing a French press. I think it kind of makes the coffee a little bit more oily, right? Because you're not having the paper filter to capture the oils from the coffee itself. So it'll give you a different mouthfeel, a different flavor, a different body in that sense. But it's just not the method that I prefer. So that's why she's ending up at the bottom of this tier list here. Now, of course, there are a plethora of other brew methods, and there are so many different things that you can do with these magic little beans that we have been given. But those are the methods that I feel like I use the most or I interact with frequently. So those are the only methods that I'm going to talk about here at this moment, okay? But coffee, we love. We love, 10 out of 10, would drink again, and I'll see ya in the morning, okay? But if you're anything like me, you know you need that morning cup of joe to get you going, okay? Get the JoJo and then go. All right? We love to see it. We love to see it. Okay, so that brings us to our next topic of cannabis. Now, cannabis originated in Central Asia, and it was widely used for its healing properties. We're looking back to like 2800 BC here, where Emperor Shen Nung, who was kind of widely accepted and known to be the sort of father of Chinese medicine. So the first documentation of cannabis here is seen written in his medicine books, actually. And then we can see it in further texts from the Indian Hindus to the Greeks to the Romans. All of these peoples of this time had written actual texts and documented use for cannabis as like this sort of healing medicine. And then we're looking to 1841. That is around the time where we're actually seeing the transport of cannabis, right? So it's coming from India and it's being brought over into Western medicine because so many people are gaining these benefits from the cannabis plant and having many of their ailments be treated in ways that it wasn't treated before, right? Moving further down the line there, we have 1970 is the year that the United States came out with the Controlled Substance Act, and that act had listed cannabis to be a sort of, this ain't good no more, right? They are saying that, okay, this doesn't have any health benefits, this doesn't have any medicinal benefits, and it has a high probability of abuse. So in 1970, that is when we were seeing like, okay, cannabis is not the thing. But, you know, through many movements and further down the line by 2017, that is when we are going back to, okay, cannabis is a good thing. Cannabis has these medicinal properties, these things that could benefit the body and help us and heal us. Specifically, we're looking at CBD, right? And it was known to help childhood seizures brought upon by epilepsy. It was alleviating some symptoms of schizophrenia. So at that point, that's when we are seeing that, okay, well, CBD here has really a lot of positive benefits, and we're looking at that specific part of the cannabis plant and what we can derive from it. We can harvest that specific aspect of it to have all of these wonderful, amazing benefits that could really cultivate the way that we use like modern medicine. So that's kind of like a light little background, a light little history on cannabis and like kind of where it came from and how it brought us to where we are today. Now today we have two main types of cannabis that we look at. We look at typically indica or sativa. Now when we're looking towards indica, this type of cannabis plant has a higher CBD and lower THC content, right? So what you're gonna have with this is indica, your couch, right? That's how it's described. It's the vibes, it's the comfy, it's the cozy, right? You have feelings of relaxation, reduction in pain, you're feeling euphoric, and this is used for like appetite stimulants as well. Now, when you're looking towards sativa, we have lower in the CBD, but higher with the THC content there. So this is more uplifting, euphoric, creative, energizing, right? right? These are the types of things that you're feeling. You're more alert. So with that, we have sativa kind of being known more as like the head high, the more psychoactive, but then the indica being more of like the body high, like you're in your body and you're feeling it and it's chill and you're relaxing, right? So those are the two main types of cannabis. Obviously, you have spectrums and ranges and hybrids to bring you the best of both worlds there, but those are what we widely seen, consumed, and used today. Now, same idea like we did with the coffee, tier list time, okay? The consumption methods are just as plentiful as brewing methods for coffee, okay? So I think at the top of the list, the top of the tier list here, you gotta go with a bong. You have to go with a bong. It just feels right. It's classic. It's OG. It's one of the easier smoking methods, and honestly, it's such an experience to have a smoke sesh and you're having your little smoke circle and you're toking around a bong. Like, hello, amazing. You've never had a bad time with a bong. And also, I just feel she needs to have her flowers because it's one of the most iconic and widely recognized tools for consumption of cannabis. Like, I feel like if you show the average Joe Schmo on the street, hey, picture of a bong, he's gonna know what you're using it for, right? Like, it's very iconic in weed culture. After bong, I would probably say pipe. I feel like pipe is very easy. It's very quick. It's very, okay, here I am, load her up and go. It's very efficient, okay? She's very efficient for a quick smoke sesh. You need something and you need it now, go ahead and hit up the pipe. Under a pipe, I would say dab pens / carts. They're super convenient, especially in the sense of like they don't have the same sense and the same odors and aroma that you're going to be getting when you're having like actual flower that you're burning and smoking, right? Because that's going to be a lot louder, a lot more of an odor. Carts are nice, they're convenient, but I don't think that they're good for you. Like, I fear that there are some side effects to your health that come from it because it literally is just the concentrate of the THC with like no CBD, but the CBD is the part that like helps your body. So I don't know that lore personally, but I'm a little suspect of them, I will say. Underneath carts, we're gonna have to go with gummies. Gummies are good, I love, but I fear in my personal experience with a gummy, you either have it hitting or you don't. And there's no in between, okay? It's either it's coming at you like a fucking freight train, or did you even take it? Like, did you feel it? Did you take anything? Do you need another? Sometimes it's a challenge, okay? Gummies are wonderful. They're odorless. They're easy to consume, but it's the waiting game. That's the issue with gummies, okay, is the waiting game of it all, because you're sitting there and you're wondering if it's hitting you, and you're sitting there and you're wondering if it's hitting you. And honestly, I think there's placebo in that. There's placebo in the fact that you're sitting there overthinking and pondering the fact, like, okay, is this hitting? Like, am I feeling this? Like, is anything happening? Like, it goes crazy. So I think gummies are kind of down there towards the bottom. And then I would say at the bottom, dabs. Dabs are at the bottom of my tier list. Darling, if you've ever smoked them dabs, you know. The wax, not my friend. Not my friend. Noah, she's like a ghost haunting me from my past, and I don't want much to do with it, okay? It's very high concentrate. That's gonna hit you like a freight train. That's gonna hit you like you took a bag of gummies. And the smoke, the actual smoking process of doing dabs, ouch. 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 ouch on the couch, okay? Because it burns the throat so bad. So much burning, fire burning on the dance floor, but it's in my throat and I'm crying and I'm saying, oh my god, oh my god. You're literally gonna have coughs like you've never coughed before, okay? Your lungs are gonna go through like high intensity interval exercising right now with this type of method of smoking. It's, whew, girl, if you're a dabs queen, all the flowers to you, but that is not me. I can't do it. It's, I'm gonna stick to the OG, okay? I'm gonna sit over here in my happy world doing my thing, and I'm gonna stay basic, simple, straight to the point. That's all I want. That's all I want. You know, you just want a little smoke, a little toke, a little high, a little vibe. Not coughing up my lungs. Okay, I've seen bitches throw up, okay? After a hit of a dab, they're coughing and they're on their deathbed throwing up, okay? It's just such that visceral reaction to having that sensation in your throat that's like, eh. So, dabs, not the tea, not for me. If you enjoy, all the power to you, but that's why she's down here at the bottom of this tier list, honey. Okay? But yeah, that's that on that. That's that on cannabis. Let's go ahead and dive into our next topic here. Okay, and so to finish this out here, we are going to be diving into the lore of cults. We're going to be talking about cults. Okay, so initially to start us off here with the definition, a cult is a small group gathered together, and they are devoted typically to a singular person, a singular idea, or like a singular philosophy. Now, with most of the time here, these groups, these cults, are more so religious based, religious focused. Not all the time, they don't have to be, but when we're thinking about a cult, most of it is kind of like in the religion realm of things. Now, experts have gathered a few characteristics to help us kind of determine, like, okay, do we know somebody in a cult? Are we existing in a cult? Do we know of a cult? And some of those few characteristics here are going to be, the leader is going to be very charismatic. There's also going to be this kind of ideological purity, meaning that like everybody is on the same page, and it's to the point where members will police each other and really push for like conformity. You are discouraged from questioning the doctrine that is, you know, made by the cult, and if you are questioning it, like if you're doubting it, if you're wondering, like, you know, kind of feeling like you're met with shame. So yeah, things like conformity and control, leaders will get very deep into the members' lives and be very controlling of like every aspect of their life. There's also been cases of like mind altering practices, such as like sleep deprivation, some meditative practices, and mind altering drug use. Anything to kind of like make people more susceptible to the ideology of the cult. And then you have the, you know, isolation, the apocalyptic thinking, the us versus them mentality, really like those all isolating ideals to make you feel like you are in this group, and it's like you, this group, this cult against the world. You know, it's very much that type of ideology that they're pushing for. And then of course they'll say that if you are, you know, committing too much of your time and energy into a group, that would also be a characteristic of potentially a cult. So these are the things that we would like look out for in terms of like community, a sense of community, and people having these sorts of groups and things of that nature. These are the things that would qualify the group to be a cult. Now, the leader, the person who's like starting the group and initiating the cult, is typically a very charismatic type of person, very outgoing, very good at like getting people to kind of like listen to them and like consider their ideas as something that is what they would prefer to exist within as well. Now, these types of people are going to be targeting like extroverts, you know, those outgoing type of people who are like missing something from their life. And they're really going to hone in on that, right? They're really going to target the idea of, hey, you're missing, like, you have this void within you that you feel needs filled. Look at this. You have community, you have like-minded individuals, will uplift you, and they're going to be taking advantage of, like, when people are already looking for something, they are going to be more primed for a cult to show up and to make them think that they're being given or they could provide what they need. Now, one of the most infamous cults is known as the Family. The Family was founded by Charles Manson in 1967. So the kind of basis of the ideology and the belief here, Manson believed that the United States would go into this sort of world-ending, all-apocalyptic war of the races, right? And he was convincing his members that, hey, we are going to survive this war, and then we are going to be the ones that are bringing upon a new age, right? The dawn of the new age is what was promised to these members. However, there obviously wasn't the war that was happening in the way that he was expecting it or whatever. So he was needing a push, At some point, push would come to shove and people would start questioning why they haven't experienced anything happening. They haven't heard any talk of this war. So he was convincing them that they needed to commit murder. He convinced his followers to commit a series of brutal murders, but eventually they did all get caught and, sentenced to life in prison. So, crazy. Yeah, so that's kind of the lowdown on the cult situation. I think it's so interesting. I really need to do more research, number one. I need to learn more lore about cults. And I think in the future, I want to give, a ranking, but, what cult do I feel like I would be susceptible to? That kind of thinking. So cool. So interesting. I love these types of, psychological thrillers. It's just something that tickles the brain to think, oh, this kind of, bizarre, far-out story or, event could be reality, It's insane to think about that. Wow, this has been a treat. This has been a blast. It's always so wonderful to sit here and yap and just let the brain do its thing and let the flow go, I love it. And all of these topics were amazing to discuss and to kind of dive into with you all. But I hope you're ready for a little mantra meditation motivation moment. Okay, we're pulling from the Golden Mantras deck again to get some motivation for our lives. Yes, Golden Mantra. Okay. I am breaking the generational patterns that once held my lineage behind. I am breaking the generational patterns that once held my lineage behind. That's crazy. That's beautiful. And we really are existing in a unique timeline. We are the ones that chose this specific timeline, this specific aspect of the lineage to come in from spirit and exist in the physical realm during this time. So, we got to make the most of it, and we've got to live our lives in the best way that we can for our time here, our very short time here on this physical plane. But with that being said, I enjoyed all of this, and I am already in the works for episode 4. This brain, them gears are in motion and they stay rolling. But yes, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Peace and love.